The Dallas-Fort Worth community always says yes to supporting elementary students, and now that yes can win you a brand new 2022 truck. DFW Yes provides school supplies to more than 78,000 students across Texas. Give your yes today by purchasing raffle tickets in our Drive Away for Education truck raffle sponsored by Thomas J. Henry. The grand prize winner will choose from a new Ram, Chevrolet, GMC, Ford, or Nissan truck. Plus, you could win a shopping spree or gas card. Purchase your raffle ticket today at dfwyes.org.
99.9%.
I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week
in Cruton.
It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, their gravy is always the perfect temperature. I don't know how they do it. It is like that's
that
something.
Is a good point.
That's something I appreciated this week. Their gravy is always exactly the temperature you need it to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had a bad meal at Chicken Express ever. Literally ever. I've never had a cold tendy.
I know.
Never had a lumpy
Cold
gravy.
tendy.
How do they do it?
Always this, and this is like, you guys know, like one of my preferred sides there is mozzarella sticks. Everybody who's a faithful listener of the show knows this.
You're a mott stick guy.
I've never had
their mott sticks.
Oh.
He talked me into doing them, and let me tell you,
Are they
really-
life-changing?
he's
they're
exactly
really
right.
good.
They're
mods.
really for a place
Okay.
that like all due respect to our friends at Chicken Express, I don't think of Chicken Express and think like mozzarella sticks.
No,
Right.
But
you
like
don't typically.
it took you like 4 or 5 episodes to be like, you gotta try the mozzarella sticks, and I did. And I'm like,
Cheese is always melty.
cheese is
Yum.
always melty. Yeah,
that sounds
good.
fantastic.
Anyway, yeah. Just week in recruiting with Greg, because it's hard to screw. It's easy to screw up that.
Yeah, I mean, like you go to what I would consider like not upscale, but mid-tier
Yeah.
sit-down restaurant and get mott sticks. Like 50% of the time, they're terrible.
I know.
Yeah.
But there.
I don't know why.
Miss once, Chicken Express, please. This week in recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise, it's Mansfield Lake Ridge defensive end Ryland Kennedy. He has had a big senior year, and the recruiting has followed. In November alone, he's picked up offers a lot from the West Coast.
Right.
Washington, Cal, USC, San Diego State, and then non-West Coast squad Auburn. But this is a guy that you should be keeping an eye on. Ryland Kennedy's recruiting is heating up there at Mansfield Lake Ridge.
And his tape is really good. He's a pure pass rusher off the edge. I really like that. He can really get after the quarterback. And an interesting story here is that this is his first year of playing football. He was a basketball guy before this, and that's kind of kept him off the radar. So he's really starting to see a meteoric rise as far as his recruitment is concerned. And you can see his quickness off the edge. I think if he would have been on the radar a little bit sooner, he would probably have 25 offers by now. But still, there's still time to get involved in this race. Interesting comments from him. He wants to be a sports medicine major, so if you're a school that offers a good program there, come on and get after him a little bit. And then I would say that I think that he's still going to get more offers. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State are, like, I would say, more regional schools that are showing him attention. If they come in with offers, maybe that could change the game. But, I mean, you got USC and Washington already. I mean, Cal and now Auburn. I guess USC is the one that really kept – I mean, that's the –
Yeah.
because of where they're rated.
Yeah.
This year you have Lincoln Riley who went to OU to USC, and that they've got a big-time quarterback. I think USC is like one of those schools that everybody across the country – they notice it when you get an offer from that school. So, I mean, this is a guy who could play for basically any program.
Yeah, he's
and didn't play till this year. So, I mean, like,
Well,
this is
that's
what
the thing.
Texas high school football is about.
Well, and that's the other thing is that, like, there's two ways to view this. One is that he's a pretty darn good player right now, and, like, if you were to get him, he'd be an asset. The other part of this is, what if he just continues this trajectory?
Right.
Like, everyone's got a ceiling, but we don't know where his is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of upside here for this young man. So that's a name to know there in Ryland Kennedy there at Mansfield Lake Ridge. Let's roll on to our commit of the week. Our commit of the week is McKinney North wide receiver Corbin Hendricks. Corbin Hendricks has committed this week to Arizona State.
Nice.
I want to talk a little bit about this. He's a possession guy. This guy's had a great year for McKinney North, and he picked them over places like SFA, Minnesota, and New Mexico State. I'm always interested in this because Arizona State presently does not have a coach.
Right.
So, but obviously, he likes Tempe.
Yeah.
I think that's I'm comfortable saying that, never having met Corbin Hendricks, but you gotta like the program.
Well, and what's interesting is like his recruitment is another one of these that kind of took off throughout the course of his senior year. All these offers are like in-season offers for him. He wasn't getting a lot of attention before this year. I called him a possession style receiver because that's kind of what I saw when I went and watched them play against Tyler, and that's kind of what I saw on tape. He's a guy who really runs these intermediate routes well, can get open, and he's got really good hands. But I feel like when you say that it's not a negative connotation, but it gives the perception that he's not a guy who can stretch the field, and that's not entirely true. He's averaged 19 yards per catch, 608 yards this season with 5 touchdown catches, and the next closest receiver on his team had 293 yards. Mm-hmm. So he was like the star of the show as far as his offense was concerned. They have a really good running back there, young running back in J.P. Walker, who's going to catch some attention as well and rush for 1,900 yards. But as far as the passing game's concerned, Corbin Hendricks was a guy who they looked to early and often, and he's 6'3", 185 pounds. Now, you mentioned that he committed to a team that has no head coach currently.
Correct.
This commitment has to survive whoever that new head coach is going to be.
And there is also, like, he commits to Arizona State. He's got a couple offers for places like Minnesota, SFA, and New Mexico State. So I would categorize him as still a little under the radar at the moment.
Right.
The other thing about that, though, is this would strike me as the kind of guy, and I don't know Corbin Hendricks' heart, but this strike me as the kind of guy who would probably listen to another offer. Do you know what I mean? Just generally speaking, that he would be a guy who's like, okay, I'm committed to Arizona State. Obviously, it's a little bit of a turmoil-ridden situation right now.
Yes.
We don't really know exactly what's going to happen. That if you could offer him something, I think he would be open to listening is all I would suggest.
Well, just kind of to put it some perspective, too, on it is October 18th, he picks up an offer from Minnesota.
Yeah.
October 19th, he picks up an offer from Arizona State and SFA. Mm-hmm. And then, this week he commits to Arizona State. So, I think that he probably committed to what would be one of his best offers. I mean, I kind of see Minnesota and Arizona State as a parallel as far as what they've been doing on the, you know what I mean?
And that's a totally.
Well, Minnesota's got the PJ Fleck thing,
It's also just a very
the boat.
It's also just a very different, we are sitting here talking about he wants to go play. What's the better program? It's like there's also just a culture fit.
Right.
Like Minnesota and Arizona State could not be more different. They might as well be in different universes.
Well, I know this to be true because I live in Collin County. Mm-hmm. Collin County has a big pool at Arizona State. Mm-hmm. A lot of kids, not only athletes, but a lot of kids like to go to Arizona State from that area. So that may have played a significant factor as well.
Who knows? We'll see what happens with Corbin Hendricks. He's committed to Arizona State. So this week in recruiting with Greg Powers, Next Level Athlete, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation, #TF Today. Let's roll into our underclassman of the week. Our underclassman of the week is Parish Episcopal sophomore linebacker Parker Meese. Parker Meese picked up an offer this week from Texas A&M. Agriculture and Mechan... I don't know. Texas A&M, the Aggies. Perhaps you've heard of them. That makes 21 offers for the sophomore, including... I don't know, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Oregon, Mizzou, North Carolina, Arkansas, a bunch of different offers. Of course, Parish Episcopal still alive in the TAPS Division I playoffs, but this is a guy who has seen his stock rise as his sophomore season has continued.
You rattled off some really impressive offers there for Parker Meese, but you know what you didn't say when you were naming those offers?
What's that?
Another in-state school. Texas A&M was his first in-state offer out of 21 offers, which is
that's weird.
I know, isn't it weird? I couldn't believe that whenever I was kind of looking through the list, and I thought, you know what, Texas A&M, that's a big offer, right, for an in-state 2025 linebacker prospect. Then I looked at the rest of his list and was like, what, SMU didn't go hit Parish Episcopal before A&M,
And the other thing is, how many times is A&M the first to offer someone?
Right.
Almost never. That's not because obviously they're doing pretty well in the recruiting world, but that's just not their game. They don't have to be first.
Right.
Just strange.
Just oddity, I guess. But I can tell you, Parker Meese can play. And what I really was impressed with, you see a clip here from South Oak Cliff. That's the game where I went and watched him in person. Is that he plays super intelligently. Plays older than a class of 2025 prospect should. He reads and reacts really well. He doesn't I say what he doesn't do is he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Like he doesn't try to. It's like I'm gonna lower the boom here and then miss a tackle. He's a technique sound player. He's 6'2", 225. He's class of 2025. I still think he has like room to add to that frame, so it'll be interesting to see how he develops in the future. But Parker Meese is certainly a name that a lot of recruiting fans in the Lone Star State are going to get to know by the time he signs a letter of intent, 3 years from now.
Yeah, most certainly. So keep an eye on him. Parker Meese, the linebacker, just a sophomore there at Parish Episcopal. Let's round it all out with our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week is Willis junior quarterback DJ Lagway. And DJ Lagway has got something on his calendar. That is December 7th. He will be committing. He was scheduled as committed. This is he's got 33 offers. He's a guy that everyone's after. He will be pulling the trigger on December 7th. Do we have a read on what DJ Lagway may be thinking?
Well, first off, I'm looking at the schools that he took unofficial visits to recently. Texas A&M, Florida, Clemson, LSU, and Oklahoma are all kind of like stops that he made. I kind of like Florida in this one, surprisingly. I mean, or not surprisingly. I think that Florida has identified him as a guy in this class that they are, for lack of a I'm going to catch some.
Let's do it.
I'm going to catch some heat for they're throwing the bucket of cash at. You know what I mean? Like they're lining up the NIL
They're
money.
all in on it.
They're all in on DJ Lagway in this class, right? They've identified him as like nationally that guy, right? Like if there's anyone who we want to put our NIL deals behind or focus our efforts on, it's Lagway. And I think that is going to be a factor, but it's not the only factor, because I can tell you this. I've spent some time talking to Lagway, and this guy is a class act. Like you won't find a better leader for your team. Really, really high character guy. And I think that he's had multiple trips to go to Florida. So I think the Gators are really strong in this one. Texas A&M, he's had some visits there too. Clemson's really pushing hard for him, but I kind of like where the Gators sit in this. I mean, I'm fine to be wrong. Yeah. I'm fine to be wrong here, but that's just kind of like reading the tea leaves.
Here's the thing. So I remember seeing him at 7-on-7, at State 7-on-7. And first of all, like the hype is real. Like he can make every throw. He's got a good throwing motion. Like the arm strength is there. He reads defense as well, things like that. Throws it on schedule, on time, things like that. The word that I would use to describe him is thick with 2 C's.
He's big.
Yeah.
I was about to say that.
Thick. Okay, this guy, like, he checks in. We've got him listed at 6'2", 225. He is a big dude. Like, he would be a linebacker on a lot of teams.
Yeah.
And they've got him back there at quarterback. And by the way, he's still, like, for a big guy, he's really agile. Yeah. And a guy who moves really well. I think DJ Lagway's a star, man.
He's put up monster numbers for Willis too, and he does it both ways, right? I think he's really worked hard on becoming a pass-first type of guy, and to call him a dual threat. Sometimes guys get offended when you say dual threat. I say it like as a term of admiration. Because he's so hard to tackle. He can extend plays with his legs. He can work outside of the pocket. He can escape that initial pass rush to still, hook up with a connection down the field. And he's got a really strong arm and a unique delivery. He can get the ball out quickly because he throws it different than every other. He's just a different type of quarterback. And that's why I think he's the odds-on favorite right now to be the number 1 quarterback in that 2024 class. Stay tuned. We're going to be dropping that top 10 in the class of 2024, and you guys will have to check out if DJ Lagway makes it in or not.
That's a tease. That's a tease from the master of teases. It's Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter, Next Level D1. See his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Stick around because I want you to introduce the next segment.
I'll stay here.